With the release of Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, we now have 7 Mission Impossible films inside of this very consistent franchise. So today, I thought it was time for me to stop and rank all 7 Mission Impossible films ranked from the worst to the best. Please know that everything that I will say in this video is just my very own opinion. My name is SW Nation, and you're free to comment down below your very own ranking on all 7 Mission Impossible films ranked from the worst to the best, just like me, or you could just do your favorite. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter. It's going to pop up on your screen right now. And also, here's some background knowledge for me on Mission Impossible. To be fair, I'm not deep into the Mission Impossible lore. I started watching these movies at least almost a month ago. So once I started watching these movies, I got very much more excited for Dead Reckoning. So I'm not the biggest Mission Impossible guy, but I did want to talk about this movie and the rest of these movies as well. So with that being said, let's get right into our ranking. Kick it off my list at number 7 for me has got to go to Mission Impossible 2. Definitely this is the worst of the Mission Impossible films. In fact, there is some enjoyable scenes inside of it. I mean, some of the action scenes are cool, but this overall movie is just a little bit over the top and cheesy. I love early 2000s films, so I give it a little bit of a pass. You know, it did kind of try to entertain me in the first half, but once I get to the second and the third act, I just lost all interest. The doves and the kung fu is very strange, and turning Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt over the top is just so weird, especially a departure from what we saw in the first film. And I think the worst thing about this movie is his use of women. The actress that played the love interest of Ethan Hunt inside of this film was just constantly used as a sex symbol, but then after that, nothing else. She wasn't used as a sex symbol like Black Widow was, and then gradually she became this character that was very prominent. No, she was just used as a sex symbol. And also they make some weird commentary and have some weird dialogue about how the only thing that women are good for is seducing men to do what they want. It's just so weird. It has a forgettable plot, weird pacing, and it's just definitely the worst of the franchise. Number 6 for me is Mission Impossible. There's a huge jump from 2 to here. I think it's a good, enjoyable spy thriller. I think it really excels on that. It's basically the film that started it all. Not basically, it is. It is the film that started it all. It has this cool story about Ethan Hunt being framed for the murder of his team, which was the first time that this franchise ever did that, so I give it some pointers for that. But once you go down in the later films, this plot point just constantly keep happening. But it feels very different from the rest of the Mission Impossible films because it feels like an actual true espionage movie that is the start of the iconic scenes like the rat or just Tom Cruise's sweat dripping off his glasses. They have some very tense action sequences as well inside of this film that are still iconic to the franchise to this day. But I do think that people like to put this film up higher because it is the OG and they have a lot of bias to it. I'm more of a fan of the big blockbuster side of the Mission Impossible films, whereas this one kind of felt a little bit more like Bond. Kicking off our top 5 list for me has got to go to Dead Reckoning Part 1, the newest addition to the Mission Impossible franchise. Tom Cruise knows how to deliver big action sequences that you just go to the theater for. I saw this film in 4DX and you feel everything, every car crash, every punch, and you even get to see every gunshot light go off on the side of your face. I think the 4DX experience was a good one to go inside of this movie for, except when you get inside of the dialogue. It gets a little bit more talky in the middle of the film, and once the movie slows down to try to add in more dialogue, the 4DX experience is pretty much lame. The stakes are huge in scale as well as global, with a very personal threat that ties right back to Ethan's past. And I also like the fact that they kind of touched on the idea of choice and the backstory of Ethan and his team and what they had to go through to kind of join IMF. I loved all of that. Palm and Haley are some great additions to the film, but action sequences are put before an actually great concept of Paranoia City with this film. The AI threat never truly goes as far as it should, but despite all of this, even with this title, it is a very complete film, and I'm very much excited for part 2. Number 4 is Rogue Nation. Everyone's favorite, or number 2. Everyone loves this movie, and sometimes I can see why, other times I can't. I mean, this movie's big selling point, I remember when the teasers was coming out, this movie's biggest selling point was Tom Cruise is strapped onto the side of a plane. That's the opening action scene. It's memorable. But then after that, I'm like, okay, what's the next big one? To me, while incredible, it's at number 4. While I'm watching it, it's great. The opera scene was incredible. It was one of the best action sequences inside of the film. But it has that Fast and Furious 6 problem for me. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, is that every time I watch Fast and Furious 6, I enjoy it. It's a really great movie. But it always ends up at number 3 on my list because I just don't remember if I actually watched that movie or not. It's great. Like, I'm watching it, but it doesn't have anything that stands out to me like Furious 7 or Fast 5 or with this film, Fallout or Ghost Protocol. It doesn't have any of that. So it has that Fast 6 problem where I don't even remember it for real, but I know it's good. It has a more cohesive story though than the other Mission Impossible films, and in fact, it does feel like we're kind of pulling things in from the past, and it feels more of like a actual continuation of the Ethan Hunt character and more of a continuation of the Mission Impossible story, and I like that a lot. Christopher McQuarrie, he came in and gave us a nice story that kind of fleshes out this world a little bit more, introduces some great characters like Isla. So I think this movie has a lot of great qualities, but I just don't remember it that much. Kicking off my top 3 list for me has got to go to Mission Impossible 3. A lot of people put this at the bottom of their list, right around number 6 because it's above 2 but not better than 1. I have it at number 3, man. I don't know what it is about this film, but it's just freaking raw. Like, it's just awesome. The handheld camera work, the shaky camera, like I love all, like it feels more of like a Jason Bourne type of film. J.J. Abrams came in to clean up the mess left by 2, and man, did he deliver on a great movie. This movie excels in its scary and intimidating villain, played by Philip Seymour Hoffman, and also the tenseful action that just comes with it all. It's a little bit darker than the previous films, as well as the ones that came later. The mission is memorable, the bomb implant scene is heart-pacing, and JJ told a more personal story for Ethan that kind of lines up a little bit more with Tom Cruise's actual life. When it comes down to it, once Mission Impossible 3 starts, I just couldn't stop watching. My runner-up at number 2 for me is Fallout. Wow, this is going to be very controversial as well because this is the movie that's always regarded as the best, but there's only one that I think is better than this film. Now, when I watched Fallout, I saw everything. I saw why people think it's number 1. I saw why people just loved this film and why people went to go see it. Fallout is one of the best action movies ever, and it excels in setting the bar and topping almost every single action set piece that came before in this franchise. This story is entertaining and fast-paced. It does not let up. The moment the movie starts, you're just going right into it. Action scene after action scene, every one of them is memorable, but also it serves as a smooth transition and follow-up to Rogue Nation. Henry Cavill is just incredible as the villain. I mean, before watching Fallout, all I remember him from was Superman. He kind of goes from this stoic yet hopeful character as Superman in the Snyder films, and then I watch him in this and he's joking around a little bit. He gets to have fun playing the villain. I think Henry Cavill really excels in roles like this, and I really hope that he gets more roles like this. This is the franchise's sleekest and best story film, in my opinion. And even though I do have one movie that I like just a little bit more than this one, I see and understand all the hype for Fallout, and maybe once part 2 of Mission Impossible comes out, this might come in at number 1. It is just that good. But coming in at my number 1 has got to go to Ghost Protocol. I am a big fan of off-the-grid stories. I love stories about people going rogue and just going under the radar, and just, when they're talking on the phone and once they get done, they hang up and then smash the phone into a wall to stay off the grid. I love all of those types of stories. I think once you go into Rogue Nation, and probably a little bit even in this film, the idea of Ethan going rogue has just been overplayed at this point, which he does in every Mission Impossible film, just goes rogue against the grain. But I really like what Tom Cruise and Brad Bird was able to deliver. They delivered a smooth spy thriller that goes more Bourne than Bond, like 3 and 1 did. This film is stylish, fast-paced, and just gripping. I mean, that whole Dubai scene had me on the edge of my seat watching it. Now, I'm not saying this is the most tense I've ever been watching a Mission Impossible film. I think I have to go with Fallout on that end. But man, this film definitely reinvigorated the franchise for me. And while Fallout has the best story, 3 is freaking raw. Ghost Protocol to me is just the most enjoyable out of all of these movies. It's fun, it's funny, it's just a burst of adrenaline on screen, and once it starts, they just keep going. Brad Bird was able to deliver in his first live action film. This is the type of Mission Impossible film that I was waiting on from the moment I started watching this franchise. This is why Ghost Protocol has to come in at number 1. Alright guys, that is it for the ranking. Please note that everything that I did say in this video was just my very own opinion. My list was certainly not the right list, it was just my list, and you're free to comment down below your very own ranking on all 7 Mission Impossible films ranked from the worst to the best, just like me, or you could do your favorite. Please don't forget to check out that Twitter. It's going to pop up on your screen right now. And also, please don't forget to check out that Mission Impossible review. I put a link in the description. And with that being said, guys, like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Peace.